Barefoot running exploded after the release of Born to Run in 2009. What began as a way of life from an indigenous tribe in the remote canyons of northwest Mexico quickly evolved into a massive global minimalist running craze, celebrated by millions. Their minimalist running style was phenomenal, with members often running 10, 20, or even 50 miles a day through some of the world's most rugged terrain, in sandals, prompting many to question how we think about conventional running shoes, and the human anatomy in general, some going as far as to call cushioned shoes dangerous. Many switched to sandals or so-called zero-drop shoes, or no shoes at all. New brands popped up, and old brands scrambled to adapt. Who is this remote tribe, and how did their style of running completely disrupt such an established industry? In addition to exploring trail topics like this, Greenbelly makes big meal bars packed with 650 calories in protein, fat, fiber, and carbs for big outdoor adventures. Greenbelly meals have been called Rice Krispie treats on steroids and come in 5 flavors using all natural ingredients.
Greenbelly meals, and these are these really delicious bars. Greenbelly
meals.
Greenbelly.
If you have an outdoor adventure coming up, check us out at greenbelly.com. The Raramuri are indigenous people from the state of Chihuahua in northern Mexico here. They've also been called the Tarahumara, which is the Spanish adaptation. Raramuri translates to foot runner. Historically, the Raramuri lived throughout Chihuahua. However, due to oppression and abuse from Spanish colonization in the 16th century and land degradation from the Mexican government in the 19th century, the Raramuri were largely pushed out of Chihuahua to the nearly inhospitable, remote, and rugged canyons of the western Sierra Madres, with arid slopes and cacti dotting the landscape. No nearby cities, no cell service, and very few roads. The most famous canyon system here is the massive Copper Canyon, which is larger and in many places deeper than the Grand Canyon. The Raramuri prioritize community, relying on natural resources, and live in a more traditional lifestyle. Clothing and all the crafts are handmade, reflecting our cultural heritage. And community work is common, with everyone contributing. Intricate weaving and pottery, farming crops like corn, beans, and potatoes.
They are a tough, challenging, wonderful, close-knit community. They rely on, obviously, nature and the lands, but on one another. It's a very sharing culture, and they have a word called porima, which is sharing without expectation of return.
Running began as a practical way for members to travel between remote areas of the canyon. The Raramuri were also persistent hunters, chasing animals over long distances until the animals were exhausted, contributing to a deep connection with running and survival. We learn the importance of running. Running for those who have passed, for the rain, for our souls, and for our health. Running is a fundamental part of our culture, a way of survival and resistance. Men participate in races called Rarahipuri, involving kicking a wooden ball over a course while running. Women play a similar game called Ariweta, using a hoop.
We'll design a course. It might be 3 kilometers, 8 kilometers, 10 kilometers. They would decide then how many loops they're going to do. It's perhaps the world's oldest endurance running sport.
The Raramuri run in a traditional sandal called huaraches, with a thin sole and strap made from leather, rubber, or recycled tires, largely made out of necessity. The Raramuri people, since that's what they had available, started making huaraches to avoid running barefoot or to endure more. When I was 5, 6, or 7 years old, I ran barefoot. Later, I used huaraches. Early reports from an extreme long-distance running tribe can be found as far back as 1867. And in 1992, a Jesuit brought a group of 3 Raramuri runners to a 150-kilometer race in the United States. One of them managed to place first in the 1993 race and again in the 1994 race, wearing huarache sandals. This impressive performance captured the interest of some of the running community, and eventually a man named Micah True.
I was running 160, 170 miles a week just for fun, and that's where I actually got my handle, Caballo Blanco.
Woo, Caballo Blanco!
He was known as Caballo Blanco. He had an interaction with the Raramuri people at an ultra race in the U.S. and fell in love with the culture.
In 1994, Micah began spending his winters in the Copper Canyons with the Raramuri people. In 2003, he organized the first Caballo Blanco Copper Canyon Ultramarathon to preserve and highlight their culture. The first marathon was small, but by 2006, the now famous ultramarathoner Scott Jurek and writer Christopher McDougall both raced in it. Their visit became the inspiration for the best-selling book Born to Run. Born to Run explores McDougall's journey to understand the Raramuri and their minimalist style and superhuman running ability, and also specifically discusses Huarache sandals. Author McDougall said, "What the Tarahumara have that's different is their sandals. Not exactly high-tech, but those thin-soled Huaraches have everything a shoe needs and nothing it doesn't. These minimalist sandals seem to allow for more natural foot movement and flexibility, compared to a tight-laced and cushioned running shoe." Born to Run went on to sell more than 3 million copies, and was a New York Times bestseller for 4 months.
Born to Run, which has quickly become the Barefoot Runner's Bible.
Best-selling book, Born to Run.
Its popularity shook the running world. Ultramarathoners became more popular, but more importantly, it prompted everyone to explore a basic question: how should we run? Studies began exploring the biomechanics of running and the potential benefits of barefoot and minimalist footwear. Notably, Dr. Lieberman, an evolutionary biologist from Harvard, whose 2010 journal, Nature, concluded that barefoot running promotes a mid and forefoot strike first pattern, compared to a heel strike first pattern that a traditional cushioned running shoe promotes. Dr. Lieberman observed that traditional running shoes had an elevated heel relative to the toe box, which prompted this heel first pattern.
Running with a pair of cushioned shoes is lazy running. You can just slam your foot into the ground. It's changing our mechanics in a way that puts us at greater risk for injury.
He further argued that barefoot running could reduce injury, citing forefoot and midfoot strike gates were found to generate smaller collision forces than rear foot strike gates, and believed humans evolved running barefoot, so we should continue to.
We've been running for 2 million years. Minimalist shoes are really what we originally were in.
This new belief had big implications. It meant we had been running wrong. Industry leaders like Nike had shoe styles that championed cushion and comfort for decades. Runners were now curious. New minimalist footwear brands started to pop up: Vibrant Five Fingers, Zero Shoes, Vivo Barefoot, and perhaps the biggest of all, Ultra.
Ultra zero drop platform, foot-shaped toe box.
These brands championed the now called zero drop style that promotes more mid and forefoot first strike, where the heel and toe box are level or without drop. Many brands also replicated the original tire and strap Huarache sandal from the Raramuri, like Luna sandals, Shama sandals, and Earth Runners.
The Huaraches or the Tarahumara, all they do really is provide protection for the bottom of the foot, not to augment our mechanics.
Big brands like Nike, New Balance, and Merrell launched their own more minimalist, zero-drop style shoes as well. Natural movement was in full swing, including the idea of a wider toe box for toes to spread out. The debate was on. Many minimalist and barefoot runners reported the forefoot strike saved their running, and emphasized the benefits of developing more natural, primal foot movement and for strengthening the surrounding ankle and leg muscles and tendons. Conventionalist running shoe fans, however, argued for cushion and support and enhanced performance.
This ankle collar that wraps around your foot, and it just makes your ankle feel secure.
Some runners even reported injuries after transitioning to the minimalist shoes, reinforcing the conventionalist running shoe stance, which led to some companies abandoning their minimalist product lines, and also lead to some individuals filing lawsuits citing false health claims, notably against Vibrant's Five Fingers in 2014.
Settled in a class action lawsuit after runners claim the shoes did more harm than good.
The running community still stands divided on which is better, minimal or cushion. Global interest in the Raramuri has both positive and negative effects. Events like the Copper Canyon Ultramarathon celebrate their culture and endurance running skills, attracting participants from all around the world and boosting tourism spending. For the indigenous runners, it brings in prize money and sponsorships. These are opportunities that have opened up for runners to go to other countries and compete. They are also opportunities for us to share the culture of the community. However, increased interaction with the outside world and modern influences continues to threaten their traditional ways of life, eating junk food, and a fear of losing their language. When language is lost, the entire sense of the culture is lost too.
It was insanely healthy culture, and you're starting to see maybe now with modern Cheetos and Coke.
Some also feel the Raramuri culture has been exploited for economic gain, taking their running lifestyle and packaging it into new endurance races and minimal footwear products. Honestly, it bothers me a lot. I don't like that companies profit from traditional things that people have and live with. Even when we reached out to Dr. Lieberman for an interview, he declined, citing, "I don't like the way so many people commercialize the Tarahumara." To this day, seeing how an indigenous tribe in rural Mexico runs with such simplicity and such a spiritual connection is powerful. It reminds us that there might be something deeper and more primal about running, and it encouraged new research into how the body moves, which shook the industry.
The wisdom of the Raramuri to share is move your body in nature. It's not only good for us physically, but it's good for us mentally.
We are a small team that loves the outdoors. If you enjoyed this, we'd love a like and subscribe. Thanks to Irene Davis, a clinical biomechanist, Michael Miller, the organizer of the Caballo Blanco Ultramarathon, and Irma Chávez, a Tarahumara activist.